Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Welcome to Game Time with Hubb, your all-access pass to the hottest stories in football, basketball, boxing, and wrestling. Whether it's game-winning touchdowns, buzzer beaters, knockout punches, or jaw-dropping suplexes, we've got it all covered. Here's your host, Hubb.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time with Hubb. It is Sunday, May 11th. Happy Mother's Day. We got Backlash to get into, the recap of that. NFL news, we had a big trade this week. And, you know, the NBA is currently in the middle of the conference semifinals, which has been a lit playoff so far. Let's get into WWE first, talking about Backlash, which was live from St. Louis last night. We know the headliner for that was John Cena versus Randy Orton one last time. But the first match of the night was the Fatal 4-Way for the United States title, which was Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. This was complete chaos, you know, big spots, bodies flying all over the place, man. You know, one of the big spots was Damian Priest delivering the South of Heaven off the production crates to Drew McIntyre through a table. You know, they pretty much canceled themselves out, which left LA Knight and Jacob, you know, for the finish. Out of nowhere, Jacob gets help from Solo and also the debuting Jeff Cobb. Jacob looked very confused when he saw Solo, and then when he saw Jeff Cobb, you know, he didn't, you know, celebrate with them at the end of the match. He basically just like walked off. So this storyline is going to heat up on SmackDown this coming Friday. I already know. If you guys don't know about Jeff Cobb is from, he has been in AEW, Ring of Honor, PGW, Lucha Underground, in New Japan Pro Wrestling, just to name a few spots that he's been. He does have a history with Jacob, so we're going to see how this right here progress going forward on SmackDown. The next match of the night was Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch for the women's IC title. This was a masterclass. I really enjoyed this one. This probably was maybe like the second best match of the night, right behind the Fatal 4-Way. Lyra and Becky gave us a real wrestling mentor versus student vibes. You know, Lyra ended up coming out on top, but Becky was heated post-match. You know, she actually had attacked her. So this isn't over. This is going to continue on Raw. You can really feel the tension here. So let's go. They're definitely going to have another match. The next match after that was Dominic Mysterio versus Penta for the Intercontinental title. This really gave us some of that WWE AAA flavor, because, you know, they had just signed, they just took ownership of AAA. So this was high flying, fast pace, you know, interference from the Judgment Day. But then the ultimate, you know, at the end was a Grande Americano interfering with the match, and he helped Dominic Mysterio get the win over Penta. So this basically setting up for the pay-per-view next month with the Worlds Collide, the AAA event. I'm quite sure it's going to be Penta versus El Grande Americano. Maybe that's the moment when he gets unmasked, and maybe it's Chad Gable. We don't know. But that was a good match as well. It was high flying. Next up was Pat McAfee versus Gunther. And Pat got cooked, y'all. You know, but respect to him, you know, for getting in the ring with Gunther. But Gunther chopped this man's soul off his chest. It ended with a sleeper. Michael Cole got involved. Pat McAfee was out cold. You know, Gunther ended up giving his props to Pat at the end. It was solid. I like they didn't just have Pat walk in and just like get like steamrolled. You know, he did have some spots in the match where he actually shined through. So shout out to Pat McAfee, man. I know he's gonna talk about it on his show tomorrow. And then we lead into the main event, which was John Cena versus Randy Orton one last time. You know, it felt like two legends. They both laid it all out, signature fall moves, near falls, all that, but at the end, it looked like Randy Orton was going to get the nod. R-Truth shows up out of nowhere. He tries to help. And, this is how Cena ended up winning the match. So at the end of the match, it looked like Cena got a little emotional when the crowd was chanting, thank you, Cena. So this might be the start of, maybe a possible when Cena ends his career in December, he might go out as like a face. We never know. But in the press conference, Cena ended up giving an attitude adjustment to R-Truth. R-Truth came, interrupted his press conference, told him, that he always believed this, that, and the other. He was like, even though they said you can't wrestle, and that kind of sent Cena off. So that might be a match for Saturday night main event. So we're gonna keep that tapped in because John Cena is scheduled to be at Saturday night's main event in a few weeks here. So, and that's that for Backlash. I know some people were they didn't like the card. Some people did. My thing is they got Saturday night main event in a couple weeks, so they couldn't have too much in the Backlash. You got to save some for Saturday night main event. But we'll see all the aftermath tomorrow night on Raw. Switching gears to the NFL. We got the schedules coming out on May 14th, which is this coming Wednesday at 8 p.m. You can catch the full show on NFL Network. They're going to break it down, look at all the schedules, see, who plays who and when, what are the Thanksgiving games, the international games, what's up with all of that. Can't wait for NFL to get back. And also in news and, breaking news from yesterday was New Orleans Saints quarterback Derek Carr retired due to a shoulder injury, which led me believe that they should have just drafted Shedeur Sanders when they had the chance to in the draft a couple weeks ago, but it is what it is. But what I'm hearing is that, they're also trying to get Aaron Rodgers as well as Pittsburgh. So the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes is now heating up between Pittsburgh and New Orleans now. So we'll see what happens. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be coming to the Big Easy, or is he going to Pittsburgh? He already did work out with DK Metcalf a few weeks ago. So who knows, man? Who really knows, man? And then we had the big trade this week. George Pickens is headed to the Cowboys, speaking of the Steelers. So the Steelers traded George Pickens in a 2027 6-rounder to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2026 third-round pick and also a 2027 fifth-rounder. It's not much of a blockbuster on paper, but when you look a little closer, this is exactly the kind of move the Cowboys needed to make. I mean, if you think about it, for Dallas, they have been searching for a second legit wide receiver to take pressure off of CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens, to me, could be that guy. He's only 24. He's still on a rookie deal. He's coming off back-to-back seasons with solid production. He's a big body, high point, sideline to sideline kind of receiver. He's going to give Dak a true deep ball threat and someone who can bully corners one-on-one. The Cowboys offense to me just got way more dangerous, especially in the red zone. With Brian Schottenheimer now running the offense, Pickens going to give them the versatility. You can line them up opposite of CeeDee Lamb. And now defense is going to have to pick their poison because you can't double both of these guys. So to me, it's good upside for the Cowboys here. They very well, they're going to be going back to the playoffs as long as everybody stay healthy. The addition of Pickens could give them what they need to get, deep into the NFC playoff run. Possibly win that in the NFC East division. Who knows? Let's see how these two guys going to mesh well and what Dak is going to do. Right now, all the pressure's on Dak now. Dak's going to go out there and go get it done. You got two wide receivers who, we know, look, CeeDee Lamb is a 1, and George Pickens could also is also considered a 1 in my opinion. So you got two number 1 wide receivers. There's no excuses right now for this. The Cowboys should have a nice little run going this season and well into like the playoffs. At least an NFC championship game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of move that this was for them getting this kind of wide receiver in George Pickens. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out when that schedule drops them on Wednesday, and we're gonna find out once the regular season starts. But in my opinion, man, this right here was a good move. For Pittsburgh, they're in the middle of a culture shift here. Word is they was getting frustrated with Pickens, his maturity, attitude, sideline antics. But they gave up a baller. So this could come back and bite them if Pickens shines in Dallas. And sometimes when a guy is, having sideline antics, attitude, maybe a change of scenery is good for him. So, we seen it. Randy Moss. I'm not saying Pickens is Randy Moss, but I'm just saying when guys come from a situation where they really don't want to be at no more and they go somewhere where, okay, it's more help over here. I actually got a quarterback. If you think about it, like they had Russell Wilson, but now they don't have a quarterback. They're still wishing on Aaron Rodgers. And George Pickens had issues with Russell Wilson last year because it was things that Russ was doing that was like, hey, come on, man. Now you're over here with Dak and you also got CeeDee Lamb. Like, George Pickens should be able to eat because CeeDee Lamb is still going to get, majority of the attention over here. So he's going to go ahead and draw that number one corner over there. George Pickens should be able to eat this season. I definitely like this move for the Cowboys. Jerry Jones rolled the dice, and if it paid off, this could be one of the best trades of this entire offseason. So that's the latest for the NFL. I'm looking forward to it, man. I cannot wait for Wednesday for the schedule release. And, hey, I can't wait for football season to finally start. It's about time. Moving on to the NBA, so we are in the conference semifinals. Everything is heating up here. Got the Eastern Conference, got the Cavs and the Pacers. Indy leads, 2-1 here. This series has been a complete roller coaster so far. Game one, Indiana came out swinging. Nembhard dropped 23. Halliburton had 22, 13 dimes, and the Pacers took game one in Cleveland. And then game two was wild. The Cavs had a 20-point lead and still lost. Halliburton hitting the game winner, and stunned the entire crowd. Then we moved on to game three, which was Friday night. I'd have said not today. He came through. He dropped 43. Garland and Mobley came back, and the Cavs reminded everybody that it ain't over. Game four is tonight at 8 p.m. Then and still in the East, we had Celtics Knicks. Hey, I'm a Boston fan. I'm a Celtics fan. So this one had me a little. I've been on edge for the past 3 games, man. It's nothing but drama, man. Nothing but drama, man. Game one, man. The Knicks came back from being down 20 and stole it in overtime. Clutch steal from Mikal Bridges. Helped. Seal the deal. And then game two, another deja vu, y'all. Another 20-point comeback, back-to-back. History was made. Boston missed 75 threes between game one and game two, which was like mind-blowing. I'm yelling at the TV like, yo, attack the basket. You know what I mean? Game three was yesterday. And Boston said, you know what? We're not going outside, man. This is a business trip. And they lit it up, man. Finally, man. They dropped 23s. They had shot 50%, won on a 22-point win, and they sent a little statement, hey, look, champ's still here, man. You know what I mean? So, game four is tomorrow night at 7:30. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully Boston can go ahead and get another win. Tied up 2-2, going back home to Boston and reclaim home court advantage here. So I can't wait. You know what I mean? Moving on to the Western Conference, the Thunder and the Nuggets, Denver leads that series 2-1. Game one, Denver took the home court, for dagger 3 from Aaron Gordon. And then game two, hey, OKC came out, broke a record. They put a beating on Denver. They put up 149 points, yes, 149, and they ran the Nuggets off the court. And then game three, they went back, they finally got to the Denver. Jokic dropped 20 with 16 boards. Murray with some 27 points. Orton had 22, and the Nuggets ended up taking the game. They lead the series 2-1. Game 4 is today at 3:30. By the time this podcast start, that game should probably be already on at the time, but that game time is at 3:30 today. And then the other game over in the West is the Timberwolves versus the Warriors. Minnesota leads that series 2-1. Game 1, we saw Steph go down with a hamstring injury. Buddy Hield came out to play, with 24 points, and the Dubs took over the game there, and they got the win. But Minnesota came back in game 2. Julius Randle led the way with 24 points, 11 rebounds. So that made the Timberwolves, they evened it up. And then with game 3 a couple nights ago, Anthony Edwards went beast mode, man. 36 points. He had 28 in the second half. And now, Minnesota now holds the edge in this gritty series. And they're saying that Steph Curry could possibly be back for game 6. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Can Minnesota go up 3-1 and put all the pressure on the Warriors? And they just very well can end this thing in 5, man. Who knows? So game 4 is tomorrow night at 10 p.m. And that's our wrap on the NBA. That's our wrap on the pod for the day. It's been real, y'all. Listen, follow me on socials. Hubb Legacy on Instagram. Same tag on TikTok. Game Time with Hubb on YouTube and also on Facebook. Follow the pod on Spotify. Game Time with Hubb. I'm also on Odyssey, my fault. And wherever you get your podcasts at, man, keep it tuned, man. Keep it linked, man. We're going to be back very, very soon. Possibly after this, look, I'm trying to get back this coming weekend so we can talk about the schedule breakdowns and what I think, talk about the Thanksgiving Day games for the NFL, the Christmas games for the NFL, and so on, man. And also we'll have more NBA highlights, things to talk about. Also WWE news and, results, man. So keep it locked in, man. Appreciate all y'all. So until next time, man, it's your boy Hubb, and I'm out. Once again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, man. Peace.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Game Time with Hubb. Make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss Game Time action. See you next time.